have your back to me, turn around. If you have your cell phone out, please put it away. This is very likely going to be the longest class meeting that I had, and that's only because most of you are new to the building. Some of you are new to the district. We do have a few 11th and 12th graders here. This is, unfortunately for you, a little bit of a longer one. As we said to the seniors and seniors and juniors earlier in the day, at this point, you guys already know how to do school. So it was a lot quicker, but I need to be a little bit more detailed with the freshmen. I would hate to put any of you on the spot if you are not paying attention. I did have to do it for the last hour, so please make sure you're paying attention. Some things I say may be funny to you. I'm not saying I'm against you laughing, but as we go through this, you need to be attentive because come Monday, the expectation is that you understand these rules and you can follow them. So make sure you're following along. I'd like to start off first by introducing who we are as an administrative staff. I am Mr. Buford, I'm the principal. Ms. Elias, if your last name starts with the letter A through the letter G, Ms. Elias is the East House assistant principal. Mr. K is the West House assistant principal. If your last name starts with H through O, you go and see him. And for South House, we have Mr. Quina. He's the South House assistant principal. If your last name is P through Z, that is who you go and see. If you're having any trouble with school, you're having any trouble at home, or you're having any issues that you need to deal with, those are the people that you go and see first. If you have an issue with attendance or disciplinary problem that we have to address, those are the people that you're going to go and see. Next up, we have our counselors. Again, if you look at the alphabet, if your last name is A through D, you have Mrs. Tedesco. Last name E through KN, you have Ms. Jones. Last name KO through RN, you have Mrs. Wyrupkowski, or Mrs. W as she likes to be called. And if it's RO through Z, you have Mr. Twig. It is very important that when you are in high school, you make sure that you know who your counselor is, and you should try to see them at least once a semester because right now the clock is ticking for you. What I mean by that is this is not middle school, this is not elementary school. When you get in high school, you have 4 years to get the amount of credit that you need to graduate, and if you don't get that credit, you will not graduate from high school. So you need to make sure you understand that. Before I move on and start talking about grading policy and credits to give you an understanding of it, I'd like for you all to meet our SRO officer, Al. He has a few things that he'd like to say to you. I'd like to talk about our grading policy. Again, what I just told you a minute ago, starting right now, you are on the clock for graduation. And whether you graduate or not is up to you, and it's up to you to follow these rules in our grading policy to do so. So this is how it works. First quarter is worth 40% of your semester grade. Second quarter, 40% of your semester grade. Then your midterm or your final that you take in the spring, that's 20% of your semester grade. You have to pass two out of three of those with a 60% or higher to receive credit. Again, you have to pass 2 out of 3 with a 60% or higher and have a 60% or higher in the class to receive credit. 60% is a D minus. So you need a D minus all the way up to an A for the semester, and you need to have a D minus up to an A in 2 out of 3 of those to receive credit. That means if you got a 72% first quarter, then you got a 58 second quarter and a 59 on your midterm. Even if you have like a 68 or a 65, whatever that math may come to, you may have a D in the class, but you did not receive credit because you did not pass 2 out of 3. If you do not get your credits, you do not graduate from high school. I'm going to say that again. If you do not get your credits, you do not graduate from high school. There are some students here, you've been a high flyer your whole academic career. There's some of you that may not have passed many classes coming out of 8th grade. You still made it here to high school. You will not walk across the stage in June of 29 if you do not have 22 and a half credits. So we'll talk about the credit breakdown in a second. But so you'll know, you need at least 60% or better first quarter. You need at least 60% or better second quarter. You need to pass your midterm and final, and you need a 60% overall with 2 out of 3. If you don't do that, you will not receive your credit. So credit requirements. Right now, unless you had some classes as a 8th grader that got you high school credit, right now you don't have any credits at all. By the end of your freshman year, you should have 6 credits. At the end of your sophomore year, you should have 12. Junior year, 18, and by seniors, you can have up to 24 credits. To graduate from Warren Consolidated Schools, you need 22 and a half credits. You need 22 and a half to graduate. So if you go into your freshman year and you get through the end of it and you only have 4 credits, yes, next year you'll have a couple 10th grade classes. Next year you'll have a 10th grade schedule, but you will still have what we call 9th grade credits. If you do that for the following year, you'll have an 11th grade schedule, but you'll have 9th or 10th grade credits. We have a lot of students that were here last year as 10th graders. They started their junior year over at Community High because they were short credits and they couldn't graduate from here on time. If you get into your senior year, the magic number to still be able to graduate from here on time is 14 and a half. Now you should have up to 18. You could have 16 and a half, and all you have to do is just pass the classes that you take. But in credit recovery, you're only allowed to take 4 classes, which is 2 per semester. 6 credits as a senior, 2 credits first semester, 2 credits second semester will get you out on time. If you have anything less than 14 and a half going into your senior year, you cannot graduate from here mathematically. It's impossible. You'll be graduating in the summer. Now, with you being young, you ought to understand this, but I'm going to say this because there are a couple of seniors in here. I've seen whoever you think the toughest guy is in here right now, whoever the young lady in here that doesn't take any mess, I've seen them cry real tears senior year because they're in my office. Well, my parents bought the tent. My parents have this great party set up for me. My uncle came from California, and I just want to make them proud. And I go, no, you can't walk. You can have the party, but you're not graduating until August when you take your classes again. It is that real. Now, you all don't quite get it now because you're younger, but for whatever reason, we get into our junior year and we wake up and either we have a lot of options or we don't have any options at all. So even though this is very early in your high school career, you need to take what I'm saying to you very seriously. Because if you get to that point where we have to move you to community, or you get to that point where you're right at the end and it's June and everybody's lining up to go to prom and go to graduation, the worst thing that can happen to you in your young adult life at that point is that you are unable to participate. So seniors that are here, I know a couple of you sprinkled in. This was a very quick meeting for you all. You guys know how to do school. If you're still here, that means you probably have at least 14 and a half. So we anticipate shaking your hand in June. But for those of you who are new to the building, the clock is ticking. Make sure you're on top of it. So that's it for grading and things of that nature. But I want to go over our classroom, not classroom, but go over our school expectations for students. Right away, we're going to start with dress code. Dress code is a tricky one, and I only say that because I have a high school daughter myself, and trying to find clothes for her that stop at the waistline is not very easy anymore. That's just the world that we're in now. But there's no reason for us to have clothing that stops at the bottom of our chest. If you're doing that, you're out of dress code. Fellas, you shouldn't be wearing tank tops. I don't know why this is a new thing, but the 5-inch hoochie daddy shorts, we shouldn't be wearing those either. Those are out of dress code. So please make sure you're not doing that. Any clothing that has things on it that we deem inappropriate. So anything of a sexual nature, anything that shows drug paraphernalia. We are kind of old, but we know what cookies are. So you can't wear that either. If anything that's political enough in climate that it disrupts the educational day, we will ask you to change that and not wear it. You have a few options that you can take. One of the options is you can go to your locker and get something different. We've had students turn their hoodies inside out, but we do at the end of the day have spirit wear for you all to wear in the main office. Now here's where it gets tricky. You might walk into Mr. Zach's room and he may not have seen it. He may not have seen that you are out of dress code. And then you may walk into Miss Upham's class and she sees it, third hour. If she dress codes you and says, hey, you need to go to the office and take care of that, you can't say, but Mr. Zach didn't say anything. That doesn't matter to us. If you are dress coded by an adult in this building, and it doesn't just have to be a teacher, it could be a lunch aide, it could be a custodian, it could be a secretary, it could be a security guard. If you are dress coded for something that you're wearing and it was deemed inappropriate, it is not an argument. A change needs to be made. One that we had to add to this that we didn't know we were going to have to add, but I have to say it to you. We do not wear blankets at Cousino High School. It will get cold in the classroom. Make sure you dress appropriately. Get you a hoodie, get you a sweatshirt, a very light jacket. You shouldn't be wearing big overcoats, but make sure you are dressing for the weather. If you come in with a big blanket, we're going to ask you to put it away. And if you continue to do it, we may take it. I do want to say one other thing. I want you to think about the fact that we have 1,320 kids in this building, and to drag around a blanket is not the most sanitary thing in the world anyway. So we ask that you not do it. Hallway behavior. Believe it or not, this is specifically for you all as freshmen. The amount of running and touching and inappropriate language that we hear is typically from our freshman group because they're like, we're in high school now. We get it, and we're not naive. I'm not saying that my kids don't curse. I'm not saying that the average kid doesn't say anything that they shouldn't say. What we're saying is you need to be appropriate at all times. Will there be times when you're talking to your friend and you say something that you shouldn't say or that the adult shouldn't hear? Of course, that happens. We know it. I'm sure my son walks down the hall and says something to his buddy that he couldn't say in my house to me. But just like my son couldn't say it to me, around here, these are someone's parents. And how we were taught as educators, if it's not good for us or our kid, it's not good for you all, because you all for 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day are our kids. So if there's an issue with how you're talking, we will address it. The biggest thing, to be honest with you, if you're screaming, we're going to hear it. If you're just talking to your buddy, we probably didn't. So you shouldn't be loud, you shouldn't be obnoxious in the hallway, and you have 5 minutes to get to where you need to go. And running is just not safe. You guys aren't fifth graders anymore, you guys aren't little anymore. You're going to run into someone and you're going to hurt them. So you shouldn't be running in the hallways. I'll spend a little time on these too. I will be giving some examples. I need you to hear them. Verbal and physical altercations. Again, verbal altercations, that's just an argument. There are going to be scenarios where you get upset with one of your classmates. If you get upset with a classmate to the point where you're having a verbal altercation or argument that requires an adult to come out of their room to stop, that creates a big crowd in the hallway, which makes one of us have to come and see you, we call that disrupting the educational process, and that's going to get you sent home from school. We're not telling you that you're going to always get along. That's not how life goes. But you cannot have arguments out in the open and yell and scream and curse at each other to the point where we have to come out and do something about it. When you do, we'll have to send you home. We do have what they call restorative practices. We'll sit you all down and have you work through it so you can continue to be classmates and move on. We're not here to make sure all of you are friends. We don't care. You make friends how you want. You're not going to get along with everyone, but to disrupt the building by arguing is not tolerated. If you feel like you are going to get into some type of verbal altercation, please do me a favor and find a trusted adult. It could be me, it could be any adult in this building. And you can say, hey, I'm having a problem with this student, and we can try to work that out before it comes to this. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you miss school time over something that the adults can help you work out. And I do want to say this, I have to say this part now. I have never seen a scenario in high school ever in my life, even when I was in high school, where somebody could come up and say, I just wanted to ask them what they said to me, or I wanted to ask if it was true. If you walked up to 16-year-old Andre Buford and said, I heard you said so-and-so about me, you know what I think you're trying to do? Check me. And ain't nobody checking 16-year-old Andre Buford. All right? So that is not cool. And what happens is you got 1,000 people in the hallway. You come and say, did you say so-and-so about me? Your pride takes over. And I get it. I'm telling you, I was young. My pride took over. There's no way that I could look in front of everybody and go, oh, no, I didn't say that about you. Because now what am I? Scared. I'm soft, right? And even though I'm scared to death of Jason Bibick, I can't be scared in front of 500 people. I can't. I have to stand up, right? So that never works. I'm going to say it again. That never works. I'm going to say it one more time. That never works. At some point, and it's usually after homecoming, somebody's going to come up to me and say, I was just trying to ask them if they said that about me. I wasn't trying to be confrontational. And I'm going to say, were you at the class meetings? Because at the class meetings, I told you that never works. All right? So, verbal altercations, try to stay away from them. You can come to one of us, we'll help you out. Next thing, physical altercations. A physical altercation is a fight. A fight gets you 10 days automatically. 10 days out of school and a ticket from the Warren PD. Depending on the severity of the fight, we may put you up for a disciplinary hearing that gets you expelled from school. We are not here, I have to explain this again, in 5th grade, 4th grade, you have a fight on the playground, get a little dusted up, everybody makes friends, it's all over. When you are 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, hitting someone will damage that person, will hurt that person. We're not in school to hurt people. It is very important that you all recognize that we are not here to solve things by punching people or kicking people or hitting people with objects. Not only can that get you in trouble here, it can get you expelled from school, and an expulsion, if you all don't know, an expulsion from school is 180 days in the state of Michigan, which means you can't go to any school in the state for a school year. Nothing that someone says to you is worth that. It's not even worth the 10 days, because missing 2 weeks of school, which is what 10 days is, pretty much guarantees you're not going to do well in the class. So you don't want to put yourself in that position. Now, if you are someone that fights and then you got the 10 days and came back, I haven't seen once where a kid has done it again and they didn't get expelled. So do not put yourself in a position for that. Now, I want to give you 2 examples. You got a cell phone? Let me see it. See this thing right here? This thing right here causes 97% of the fights that we deal with. 97%. It is not, oh, he elbowed me too hard when we were playing basketball in gym and we had a scuffle. It's not, oh, she bumped me down the hall so we had a scuffle. 97% of our fights start right here. And you know how they start? Thank you. You know how they start? It starts with, so-and-so said this about you on Snap. Somebody screenshot it. You see what so-and-so said about you on Snap? Oh, such and such said that so-and-so, that such and such said this about you on Snap. And then you know what happens after that? That person says, they didn't say it to my face. They won't say it to me at school, on site, right? They say all those things, and now you feel like because of pride, because of being a teenager, now I have to prove myself. When you do that, you get a 10-day suspension, a ticket from the Warren PD, a possible expulsion. Nothing on that little device should put you there. Now, the other thing that happens, unfortunately, after homecoming in a couple of weeks, that's when all the drama starts. You danced with my man's girlfriend. You danced with her boyfriend. Johnny was musty on the dance floor. Right? You'll be surprised. He had on a fake chain. All of those things happen. So, stay with me. I'm saying those, and think about how silly it sounds. We're laughing, and I like that we're laughing. But I want you to think about that. Something that simple turns into this. Stay with me. Stay with me. Something that simple turns into this. Johnny, they said your chain was fake. Tell them their chain was fake. Johnny told Jim to tell Jane that his chain was fake. Jane told Timmy that Johnny said the same thing. And while we're explaining this, because it turns into a fight, we're writing down all of these names. And when I turn the pad and show it, it's like 11 names of students that said something, and the two people that fought never said a word to each other. Ever. Ever. Now, I'll tell you what we do here at Cousino. If we find out that you were the one instigating it, we suspend you too. But here's the issue. If all of that has to happen before the fight starts, that is what we call people putting a battery in your back. Nobody should have that kind of power over you. You shouldn't let people amp you up to do something like that. Those are probably the two main reasons why people fight in this building. We had very few fights because usually high schoolers realize, number one, fights hurt. Number two, it is a very big ticket to pay. And number three, we're probably going to hurt our grade. So we don't really have a lot of fights here in the building, so I'm not too worried about it. But if you get into a scenario where you feel a fight is coming, you need to either find a trusted adult immediately. And if you can't find a trusted adult, this right here is important. You need to find a trusted adult immediately, or you need to tell your parent to call the school. I'm going to say that again. If there's a fear that you are about to fight, you need to find a trusted adult, or you need to tell your parent to call the school. Because if you do fight, we're not going to want to hear that I didn't talk, we tried to work it out, and we thought we could fix it ourselves. We don't want to hear any of that. You need to find a trusted adult so we can work through it. All right, moving on to cell phones. At Cousino High School, we have what you call the stoplight policy. That means we have red, yellow, and green zones. If you are in a red zone, that means cell phones are not to be in use. If you're in the yellow, it can be at the discretion of the teacher. If you're in green, it can be used, or it can be used again in the classroom at the discretion of the teacher. And I'll talk about teacher discretion in a moment. But pretty much at all costs, your cell phone in this building should be used for educational purposes. If your teacher says, oh, you can listen to your music after you work, I'm not going to fight what a teacher says. If you are in the cafeteria and you're looking at your TikTok, I'm not going to fight that. You shouldn't be in the hallways making TikToks. You shouldn't be in the bathrooms making TikToks. You shouldn't be recording 30-second fights in the locker room. Those things aren't things that are academically sound, and those things can get you put out of school. So please do not use your cell phone for anything that is not academically sound. If you're having a real emergency, we should be informed anyway, so you can always go to the office and make that call. Even if you're more comfortable making it on your cell phone, go to the nearest house office or the main office to make that call. Teachers will have different classroom rules, and you all need to make sure you follow those. Some will be red, some will be yellow, some will be green, but I will touch on that a little more. Tardy policy. I'm not going to read every one. The expectation is that you're getting to class on time. You have 5 minutes. After your third tardy, the teacher will issue you a detention. If you do not serve that detention, you will be put in in-school suspension for the day. If you notice, it's progressive. After 5, you have to see an administrator. When you start getting to 7, 12, and 15, the disciplinary action goes up, all the way up into suspension. So the expectation is that you're here. And I do want to stress this again. You'll hear this a lot from me. If you are not here, you cannot learn. If you're not learning, you will not perform well on tests and quizzes. If you're not performing well on tests and quizzes, you will not pass the class. If you do not pass the class, you will not graduate from high school. That's just how it goes. So please make sure you're in class, you're getting to class on time. Student IDs is probably a little different from when you were in middle school. You had the lanyards, you had to have it around your neck, you had to be visible at all times. We don't do that at Cousino High School. We are here to prepare you to be young adults. So what we believe is that you should have an ID and it should be on you at all times. And that means on your person, which means if you say, if Miss Upham says, hey, come here, let me see your ID, because she doesn't know who you are, you should be able to produce that ID. And if you cannot produce that ID, you're going to be sent to the security desk to get an ID at the cost of $5. Now, if you did not get an ID yet, please make sure you get one. That one will be free, but after that, you'll have to pay for an ID. If you have your ID on you, you're going to be able to get into games, you're going to be able to get into dances, you'll be able to get into all of those things. So please make sure it's on you at all times. I've been telling every group this, so I want to tell you this as well. If you have your ID, when you leave here, not right now, but when you leave here, if I were you, I would take a picture of my ID on my phone, if you have one, and I would crop it. And I would just have a picture of my 25, 26 ID on my phone. It's not a bad idea. It could probably get you out of a few tight spots. So we'll leave it at that. But you have to have an ID on you at all times, and you should be able to produce that ID if someone asks you for it. When you come into the cafeteria, when you need to go to the restroom, we ask you for your ID to let you go, so we'll know who's out. And when you come back and get it, we give it back. Officer Al kind of spoke to vaping. I'm going to give you the progression of discipline for it. The first time you get caught with a nicotine vape, that's a 3-day suspension and a ticket from the Warren PD. If you get caught a second time, it's a 5-day suspension and a ticket from the Warren PD. Third time, 7-day suspension. Fourth time, 10, and a disciplinary hearing to be removed from the school. So you could quickly rack up $700 to $1,000 and an expulsion if you continue to do that. It's very plain. You're at an age where you shouldn't be doing it anyway, but you should not have that stuff on you. We put the THC, which is marijuana, we put the THC in red. The first offense is 5 days out, same ticket. Second offense is 10 days. The last offense will get you put out of school. You guys are young, those things aren't made for you. Unfortunately, the way it is marketed, it looks like it's made for young people, but that is not for young people. You should not be doing that. It's not good for your health. It's not good for your budding minds, so you shouldn't be doing that. We'll talk about it a little bit more later, but these are the rules for vaping. Lunch, this is the easy one. Unless you're a senior, do we have a couple juniors in here? Raise your hand. All right, juniors, not quite seniors yet, so you cannot leave for lunch. 9th, 10th, and 11th graders cannot leave for lunch, and you are expected to be in the cafeteria for your lunch block, whether it's A, B, or C. No, the lobby is not open for you to sit in. You need to be in the cafeteria during your lunch block. Students that leave for lunch and get caught, you will be put in in-school suspension the first time for a day, and the discipline gets more progressive as it goes on. For your own safety, we cannot have our underage students leaving the building. That's why that's in place, so please do not try to leave the building for lunch. So classroom behavior, dismissal, and after-school activities. The first one, classroom behavior. Each teacher, has their own set of classroom expectations. The rule here is that you are going to follow those classroom expectations. They gave you a syllabus, they read through it with you, your parents signed off on it, and you turned it in. We are going to support teachers in what their classroom expectations are. It is up to you to follow them. I'll give you an example. There are 1,320 kids at Cousino High School as it stands right now. That means we have 1,320 different personalities that we need to learn. You all have 6. You have 6 teachers. So the expectation is that you learn how to operate with those 6 teachers. Mr. Bibick's rules are not Mr. Youngblood's rules. Mr. Youngblood's rules might not be Mrs. Poissant's rules. But the expectation is that you understand the rules of each of those classrooms and you follow them. The example I like to use is if you come over my house, you don't have to take your shoes off. But what happens if when you go over Mr. Zach's house, you're supposed to take your shoes off and you don't? If you're supposed to take your shoes off when you go into Mr. Zach's house and you don't do it, what happens? He kicks you out, right? So that's the same way you should look at classrooms. My rules in my classroom may be totally different than Miss Newfang's rules, but they're still our rules. So you need to learn how to abide by those and you need to follow them. And as administrators, we're going to support those, so make sure you're following them. For dismissal, you've been hearing it. After 15 minutes, we say, if you are not in a supervised activity, you must now exit the building. We say that every day at 2:30. That means if you're not in a sport, you're not doing something with band, you're not at tutoring, you're not in an after-school club, or you're not getting some extra help from a staff member, you cannot be here unsupervised. Right now it's warm outside, so when school gets out, everyone leaves. It's not a problem. It's going to get cold. And when it gets cold, Mr. Buford, Mr. Quina, Mr. K, Ms. Elias, at 2:30, we're going to move you all out of the building. Mr. Buford, it's 27 degrees out, it's cold. I know. It's time to go. It's time to go. So you want to make sure you make proper arrangements with your parents and let them know that you need to be gone. For those of you who say things like, well, Mr. Buford, my mom gets off at 3, she won't be here until 3:30. You know what, I got something great for you. Starting September 15th, Monday through Thursday, we have tutoring from 2:30 until 3:30. Since you got to stay here, might as well do some work. All right? So there's no reason for you to not be in a supervised place after school. And you should take advantage of the tutoring anyway because we have certified teachers in there that can help you out. So after school activities, if you are not already in a sport, if you're not already in the band, if you're not already a part of leadership or any of our after school clubs, you should do so. For whatever reason, I don't know the science behind it, but students that are involved in things tend to do well academically, and they tend to stay out of trouble outside of school. So you need to make sure you get involved in things. When you do come to sporting events, we want you there. We want you to cheer on the teams. We want you all to be supportive of the school. When you get there, there is behavior that is not warranted. You should not be loud and cursing. Someone's grandmother came to watch their kid play football. They shouldn't be sitting next to you having you use vulgar language. There are cases where we've been talked to by parents about students that have been misbehaving during games. We do remove kids from games when we need to. We've suspended kids from games and said they couldn't go when we needed to. And we've also suspended kids from school because of games and things that they've done at those games. So please make sure you're on your best behavior at all times. We want you to have a great time, but we also want you to make sure you're doing the right thing. So this one here is near and dear to my heart. So stay with me. Reasonable request. A reasonable request is something that any adult in this building can make to you if they have to redirect behavior that we don't want. A reasonable request will not embarrass you. A reasonable request will not put you in danger. And a reasonable request will not put you in a position where you hurt someone else. A reasonable request is just a simple redirection or a simple request for information. A good example, if I'm talking to, what's your name, buddy? Right here. Caleb? If I walk up to Caleb and I don't know Caleb and I say, hey man, what's your name? His answer should not be, what do you need to know my name for? If I'm an adult in this building, I've been charged to make sure you all are safe, and I've been charged to make sure we redirect behavior that we don't want. So if Caleb is refusing to give a name to someone just because I didn't know him, Caleb is going to go home. All right? If someone says, hey, I need to see your ID, and you say, why I have to give you my ID? The person that doesn't want to give up that ID, that person is going home. That is what we call a reasonable request. For the sake of time, because the bell is going to ring really quickly, I need to give you a couple examples of reasonable requests. If you are down in that corner and you are loud and someone says, hey, cut out all that noise, and you get all mad, Mr. Buford, he had me messed up. No, he didn't have you messed up. He made a reasonable request. If you are not following that reasonable request, there will be disciplinary action. This is something that I send home to parents so they all know, and this is something that I always want to be able to say to you, because one of the biggest things that happens in high school is you build relationships with the 6 teachers that you have, and you don't really know anyone else. But that doesn't mean that another adult can't redirect your behavior. So please make sure when you have that happen, the best thing that you can do is just listen. If someone says, watch your language, that's not an argument. If someone says, watch your language, it's sorry about that, it won't happen again. And you just keep it moving, all right? At this point, we are going to let you all go. You need to make it to your 5th hour class. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.